But in Nigeria, over the past several decades, well, call it 2 decades now that we have practiced constitutional democracy, the men have always swallowed all the political positions and offices that are in place around the country. You can imagine that Nigeria does not and has never, except by default, Nigeria has never produced an elected woman governor. No lady has been elected as a governor of Nigeria, except the one that stepped in when, I don't know, I think it's Peter Obi, either Peter Obi or Ngige, was removed in Anambra State. And now this is the time that a new government is about to take shape. And particularly at the level of the national legislature, there is currently a movement for who will occupy which offices in the National Assembly. Shamefully, the ruling party that has produced the maybe very tiny minority in both chambers of the National Assembly have arrogated to themselves, the party itself has arrogated to itself the power of handpicking who should be the leaders at the National Assembly level and have trampled upon the rights of the women. No woman was even mentioned. And I don't even think that maybe during that meeting that there was even any woman around that meeting when that crazy decision was reached, though they said consultations are ongoing. Well, APC did a different thing. They held our meeting in the afternoon, at least. People could still attend, women can still attend. But most political meetings are actually organized in the night, when a lot of women are either busy with their husbands or busy feeding their children, feeding breast milk to their children, or maybe doing studies, or just relaxing at home, playing their domestic role as wives. It doesn't mean that we are saying that women are supposed to play some kind of unique domestic role. So when we use that language, we don't mean to talk down on women. But what we're saying is that women are critical stakeholders at home also. They should be critical stakeholders in the governance process of Nigeria, because Nigeria is in a terrible mess. We need the talents that women have. If you look at companies that are managed by women, a lot of companies, banks, big corporations are managed and run by women who are very educated. We want to remind Nigerians that the country is a member of the United Nations, and the UN, a very strategic organ, international organ that we have, has a specific thematic area that deals with women. And there have been very few international conferences that have spoken to, that has attended to the issues that covers the political interests of our women. It is a big shame that even when each and every one of us who are men in Nigeria, I'm talking of Nigerian men, we tend to always want to corner every position for ourselves. The Nigerian political elites, the men among the Nigerian political elites, should take some few hours and study the Beijing, the decision that was reached at the Beijing conference. I think the Beijing conference was in sometime in 1995, which is the 4th World Conference on Women that took place in Beijing, China. And the conference, as we are told by the United Nations, built on political agreements reached at the 3 previous global conferences on women and consolidated 5 decades of legal advances aimed at securing the quality of women, equality of women with men in law and in practice. The necessity and the imperative for running an all-inclusive administration, civilian administration in Nigeria, has been addressed very long time ago at international fora. And Nigeria participated actively and accepted and acceded to treaties and agreements that were reached after a series of negotiations. But when we got back to Nigeria, we just forgot about those agreements that we signed voluntarily. Apparently, most of those who even attended those 4 conferences, international conferences on women, were mostly men. We just came back home and just threw those agreements into the dustbin and just continue to do whatever we want to do. And the only way we can achieve parity when it comes to representations in politics, the only way we can achieve parity and equality between men and women in Nigeria is when the electoral process is not so much monetized and so much militarized. Nigerian politics is excessively and extremely violent. And it is becoming even more violent than it used to be in the 60s. This is the reason why we are asking the National Assembly members, both the members elect, well, the National Assembly members that will be sworn in, hopefully in June of this year, that they need to consider and even concede the office of the Deputy Speaker of the Federal House of Representatives to a woman, and possibly the office of the Deputy Senate President should be considered to a woman. I don't know how many women actually got elected back into that National Assembly, because even the few number of women that were elected in the last election, 2019, I think more than 75% of them were swept away. Just very few emerged. There is the need to carry the women along. And in the House of Representatives, we are proposing a very active member of that Federal House of Representatives, because women are so shy to come out and say, we want to be there. But this woman is not shy at all. She has, from day one, indicated her intention, her willingness, her disposition to be elected the Speaker. She was actually gunning for the speakership of the Federal House of Representatives. We also want to ask the members of the 2 chambers of the National Assembly to consider making one of the opposition party members as the Deputy Senate President. I don't think there's anything wrong in proposing the lady who won the election in FCT. What's that her name? Kingibe. Yeah, Kingibe, Mrs. Kingibe. She should be considered for the position of Deputy Senate President.